Good morning. You are joining us live from the Bio International Convention in San Diego, and we're glad to have you here because the conversation for the next 30 minutes depends on you. Please be sure that you ask your questions in the chat for our experts who are going to talk about a very hot topic here at Bio, which is advanced therapies. Emmanuel Abate, you have recently immersed yourself in advanced therapies, not here in San Diego, but in Vancouver. Tell us what you've been up to lately.
Yep. Good morning, Dodi. Good morning, everyone.
And good afternoon.
It's been a busy couple of weeks, Dodi, indeed. I don't know why May and June is where all these conferences
It's trade show
happen.
season.
It's trade show season, and it's always a great opportunity to reconnect with people, but also to announce new things and the results of our innovation. And indeed, last week was ISCT in Vancouver, and it was a super energizing week for Cytiva and for our customers. I mean, we essentially talked about two things. One was the launch of our new Cytiva cell therapy manufacturing platform, the results of many years of work in partnership with Kite to try to resolve really three big things, right? Enable our customers to accelerate their work to the clinic, and helping our customers to reduce the burden of costs and address some of the scalability challenges that they face, that truly the CAR-T industry faced. So really exciting time for us last week. And also, we did that in Vancouver, which is the home of our nanomedicine business. We're able to talk about lipids as an alternative to viral for gene modification and really show the breadth of solutions that Cytiva is able to offer. So great week.
And the customer joining us later during this broadcast is going to get into that topic as well. Now, here we are in San Diego at Bio. It is a different trade show from ISCT in Vancouver. What are your ambitions here? How do you think your conversations will go?
Yeah, and I think obviously Bio is bigger, it's more holistic, right? So we talked across all modalities, all regions. I think the mood here is it's interesting, and I've been very good this week, Dodi, but it feels a little bit like we're getting out of a hangover, right? After a couple of years of craziness during COVID and then the reset, and which really has put a strain on everyone in the industry and our teams in particular, right? And you have a feeling here, a little bit of regained stability, which is good.
And sobriety.
And sobriety, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, science continues to progress, right? And I think especially in this space of advanced therapies, there's still a lot of people working on very innovative things. I think the days where you would say, okay, this is gene and this is cell and this is mRNA is a little bit over. I think, we're going to look at the convergence of modalities to treat disease. And so, I'm here and continue to be very, very positive about what's going to happen the next 5-10 years for patients in particular. So
I'll be curious to see what our audience has to say and ask on that topic. Now, you talked about the industry momentum. Indeed, 5 approvals on gene therapies just in the past year. Most recently, another mRNA therapy approved for the RSV illness. So much momentum. What are the problems we have yet to solve as an industry?
Yeah, I think, like you said, science continues to progress.
Right.
Okay, and evidence are there about the positive impact they have on healthcare and patients. But as far as Cytiva is concerned, we still consider we have a huge mission and opportunity to improve the way those therapies are manufactured, right? So that they become more accessible, that we can scale up more easily. And so, there's still significant manufacturing challenges. I always refer to our Cytiva platform as probably Gen 2 out of Gen 3 or 4 or 5 that are going to be needed, right? So we progress step by step.
Right. The innovation doesn't stop.
The innovation doesn't stop, absolutely. Yeah.
Very nice. You may be hearing some drilling in the background. We are live at Bio, a show that is quiet at the moment, except for the drilling, but it's going to get busy. We're expecting to see thousands and thousands of colleagues and industry experts coming here. Let's have a look at what San Diego and Bio has looked like over the past 24 hours. evidence that you were here yesterday as well, Emmanuel, and giving us a happy wave. We have been joined by Dr. Nathaniel Wang. You are the CEO, co-founder of Replicate Bioscience. Welcome. Looking forward to hearing about your experience, about your innovation. Replicate specializes in self-replicating mRNA. Tell us about that and some of your recent milestones.
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be
Microphone.
to talk to you guys.
Turn on your mic.
We're going to get some audio there for Nathaniel.
There we go.
Even better.
Yes, very good. Welcome.
So thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be able to talk to the audience as well. So yes, as you mentioned, Replicate specializes in self-replicating RNA technology, appropriately enough, for the development of different medicines. So what differentiates our technology is we've really worked on the vectors themselves, and those improvements really help the clinical bioactivity of what you're able to get with vaccines or different types of therapeutic expression of proteins. Another major differentiator is being able to work with partners like Cytiva, who've really helped us on the manufacturing front with these longer RNAs, and by doing so have really improved the quality and allowed for a much better safety profile that we were able to confirm clinically. So I think that's been exciting for both of the teams and really shows the importance of having true partnerships, especially when it comes to some of these more advanced therapies. And so what we were recently able to show clinically is that we were able to get very good bioactivity for our rabies vaccine, all the way down to 0.1 micrograms, the lowest dose that people have ever seen in humans. So that's 1,000-fold less than what we saw with some of the COVID-19 vaccines for RNA. It also had very good durability. It actually matched the inactivated viral vaccine, which is currently commercialized. So the first demonstration of an RNA technology that can now match conventional RNA technologies. Very good safety profile, again, linked to some of the great manufacturing that we were able to do together. No severe adverse events across any of the doses tested. So,
but you have some, I'm sorry to interject, you have some milestones yet to cross, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we have some additional products that are being lined up to go into the clinic next year. So our Epstein-Barr virus vaccine that we're using your technology on as well as some other exciting projects that are in the hopper. So lots to come still clinically.
So for patients, what this means is what?
It's a great question. So once you have a technology where you've increased the therapeutic index, you're able to open up a few different things. So things where you target multiple proteins or pathogens, like combo respiratory vaccines, like flu COVID or flu COVID RSV combos as an example. Pediatric vaccines, where you need that good safety profile and that great bioactivity. So things like a prophylactic Epstein-Barr virus vaccine, and next generation vaccines for things that already exist. So I can improve shingles vaccine, where you can improve on the safety profile out there. So it really opens up a lot of avenues, and that's just vaccines.
That's exciting.
So I think, you both were talking about the momentum in the space from before. You can really feel it starting to build, and how these technologies are really enabling a lot of these advanced therapies. So we're very excited about it.
Super. Nathaniel, we're going to get to audience questions in a moment, but first I want to welcome our audience from Poland, the UK, Bulgaria. It's fantastic to understand that such a global audience is joining us. What do you think the industry needs to do better so that innovators like Replicate Bioscience and other biotech companies can get to commercial success faster?
So I think the first thing that needs to be done is just generate more clinical data. There are all these exciting new technologies that are being developed, but until you can test them in the clinic and get a good sense on how they're performing, it can be difficult to know how to develop them as quickly as they should be developed. So that's the first step. The second is just building up the infrastructure. So, you're starting to see organizations like Cytiva building up the manufacturing infrastructure, building up the raw materials that are needed to be able to advance these therapeutics, because the promise of nucleic acid technology is being able to go through drug development faster, but that requires the infrastructure to do it. And so as a field, we need to be very collaborative as we do it, because a rising tide raises all boats. And so it's important to find good partners and be very collaborative about it.
Indeed. Cytiva does a resilience index biannually, and one of the key findings is that 1/3 of the 1,200 industry executives who are interviewed do not feel that their countries are ready for cell and gene innovations in manufacturing. So there is a lot of progress yet to be made,
Absolutely.
even with the momentum. Terrific. It's going to be your turn in a moment. So please formulate your questions, put those in the chat here on LinkedIn. We'll be back with Emmanuel and Nathaniel after these few words from our sponsor.
What drives you? For those of you working on the next generation of advanced therapies, maybe it's automation, efficiency, commercialization. But what drives all of us isn't something singular. It's bigger. It's the possibility of what if? What if is an open door to the next big breakthrough in science. It's the enemy of failure, asking, what's next? What if is the mediator of challenge. And at the forefront of science, challenges and uncertainty are part of the everyday. Whether it's a lack of experience or technical knowledge, concerns about regulatory hurdles or staffing, maybe you're considering outsourcing or setting up your own platform. When it comes to what if, you don't give up. It keeps you moving forward, learning, and figuring out the next steps. And we're right by your side. With our wealth of knowledge, solutions, and expertise, we can help you meet whatever you're facing. And if there's a gap, we'll find the right people and develop the right tools, so you have real solutions to all your aches and pains. In your pursuit of advanced therapies, we're your helping hand, accelerating the time to your next milestone and helping you focus on what you do best. Because with the power of what if, anything's possible.
And we're back. Surprise. Okay, please be sure to ask your question in the chat here on LinkedIn. In the meantime, Emmanuel, first to you. What are you excited about in the near future coming from the industry?
You know, Dodi, I'm in general really excited by the pace of science and the progress that have been made the past 5-10 years. I mean, I think, you know, the work that Nathaniel and his team do, who would have thought 10 years ago that we would be where we are with mRNA, the work that is happening in cell therapy, in gene therapy, but also I'm thinking in what we've now sometimes called the more traditional biologics, but, you know, bispecific, ADC, radioligands. I mean, there is so much coming together. And I think, you know, I'm finding very interesting that some of the biotech and pharmas are starting to look at multimodality approaches to single disease. I think the convergence of science around specific disease and pathologies is extremely promising for patients. So science continues to excite me every day, Dodi.
You're nodding eagerly. Nathaniel, what are you excited about in the near future?
I think he absolutely hit the nail on the head. And I share a lot of the enthusiasm about the momentum that the space has really been building. And I think what's been interesting is we saw those initial successes with emergency infectious disease vaccines. As you mentioned, exciting news about the RSV vaccine approval.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of the early work has been done on the more seasonal type of vaccine variety or the more emergency vaccines. So as we build up more clinical evidence and bring in new technologies, how can we extend on that? How can we tackle complex infectious disease? How can we go into some of these other therapeutic areas like therapeutic protein expression? And what are the technologies going to be that really enable us to make those jumps forward? So really excited for what's in the future there.
Do you see any threat to biology and the science with the advent of AI, or is that all benefits? Let's talk about another hot topic here, which is artificial intelligence. Where is that going? What are your comfort levels with it, Emmanuel?
I was hoping you would ask the question to Nathaniel first, Dodi.
Okay, Nathaniel,
no,
over to you. Customer
so
first.
Let me say, I think you know, it's I mean, in my mind, there is no doubt that there is huge opportunity in AI, right? I mean, certainly we're starting to use machine learning and complex modeling to improve some of our manufacturing processes. That's one piece, and I think we're only at the beginning. Design of media, design of lipids. I mean, all those things that are so heavy and labor intensive. I think AI could help, and of course, in drug discovery, I think we still need to frankly work on the use case, okay,
right.
and bring those use case forward, but. There is a huge momentum, and out of like 100 trials, maybe 20 are going to deliver something, right? So I think the game is still being played right now, but I think you got to believe the potential is huge, right?
Yeah, it could be another one of those enormously time-saving, human energy saving, so that humans can devote energy to other pursuits, to something that is answering a more scientific question, perhaps. What do you think, Nathaniel?
I think from my perspective, the analogy that I would use is the initial sequencing of the human genome.
Yes.
And a lot of the genomics revolution that came. And it, undoubtedly, it absolutely transformed the industry, and it created a lot of change. And with change comes opportunities, comes threats. So I think both of those things would be fair. And I think that I also agree that, it's about finding the right use case and how to integrate all of that information in those new tools. And I think that it makes for an exciting time. Absolutely. So I think it's going to bring a lot of positive changes, though.
Nice to hear. We're welcoming our audience from Sweden, Egypt, Boston, Florida. Welcome, and India. So please be sure that you ask your questions. Here comes a question from Sweden. Terms like mRNA become household words. Lateral flow is something we have available to us in our everyday vocabulary. What do you foresee when it comes to the general public's interest in this kind of technology and self-replicating RNA? Do you expect that to become a kitchen table topic?
Well, I would hope that it becomes a kitchen table topic, but I also hope that it becomes
softball question for you, Nathaniel.
Well, it's a complicated question. I think it's incumbent on the industry and all of us working on nucleic acids to be better about scientific communication, to make sure that we have a lot of transparency in the developments and not just the strengths, but the potential weaknesses of technology. Right. I think that what you don't want to happen with new technologies is for words like synthetic or things to become scary household names. And so I think it's important that we tackle those as an industry so that we can have the general public really share the enthusiasm that we believe that it deserves.
While acknowledging some of the challenges and some of the hurdles, perhaps, and the dangers.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I think that people can get distrustful if they feel like there's a lack of authenticity and transparency about the development of new technologies. And so, again, I think it's our responsibility to the general public to be as open about all of the challenges as possible.
Interesting. Great. I'd love to hear an example of that. But first, I'm going to volley the question to Emmanuel. What do you think is going to be part of our everyday vocabulary in the near future?
So in a way, I was going to say, mRNA, cell therapy, gene therapy. At the same time, look, at the end of the day, there's patients that are in distress, right? Okay, right. And I think during COVID, it was interesting to see mRNA and testing becoming like part of the discussion at the pub. I think it was even said in England, but it's
maybe
in a way for the wrong
like
reason,
to see
right?
Some words eradicated from our vocabulary.
Yeah, I think it's more exactly. Yeah. So I think it's more about cure, right? Is what can we cure today that we would not even have dreamt of curing or moderating 10 years ago, right? And I think that's coming. Okay, and I think that's coming.
Great. If you were to dream big, Nathaniel, what do you think is possible in 10 to 20 years? This is a question from a viewer in Ireland. Thank you for the question.
I think that you're going to see that a much larger proportion of the new medicines that are developed are going to be RNA-based. So, I think it was an interview in The Economist where it was saying in about 10 years, they were looking for a third of new drugs approved to be RNA. I don't know that I share quite that enthusiasm that it'll be that big, that quick, but I absolutely think that there's going to be an enormous growth. So I think that we will be able to get there eventually, in the next 20 years. So absolutely.
Terrific. Thank you. Do you want to take a shot at that, Emmanuel?
Yeah, I'm
Or are
going to
we
go
gonna
back
go
to what
to
I
another
said. No,
unscripted
I think,
question?
look, I think like everybody, I think that I'm thinking oncology in particular. Okay. I think some terrible disease will be curable.
Right.
Okay. In 10 years. And we've seen some
Speaking
of
of
them already.
moonshot.
Moonshot. And we've seen some of them in blood cancer. And that's now a reality. Okay. And I think we're going to see that I want to hope that we'll see that in solid tumors as well. Right.
Right.
And so,
So let's talk about access, right? Because all of this innovation ultimately has to reach the patient. But there are, to your point, Nathaniel, big challenges. Not every patient has the opportunity to receive these innovative therapies. How can we as an industry work towards improving access?
Yeah, I love this question in particular. Access for patients and for people globally is something that's really important to us in general. And I think that that's part of the beauty of this technology. So when you're using conventional technologies like recombinant proteins, the manufacturing can be very bespoke. It can be very complicated. Oftentimes it can be difficult to scale. And so the time that it takes to actually get to patients can be much longer. And in some cases, it can become so complex that it's not really practical to be able to do that. Because of a fundamentally similar types of manufacturing process you use for nucleic acids, you're able to leverage that to be able to push molecules through development quicker and get them to patients quicker. And as you start to bring some of these new technologies online into the wider public, things like self-replicating RNAs, these have much lower doses. And so the manufacturing footprint becomes smaller. This helps drive down things like the cost of goods, and that really improves access for everybody. And so, I believe it's really important that whether it's from the manufacturing side, the new technology side, from the infrastructure side, all of these things are things that really improve access for patients and things that the industry is already making leaps and bounds for, which is really exciting.
And there's a geopolitical element. Not every country can have major manufacturing sites. And then you have that challenge as well.
Absolutely. And that's where I think that being able to develop instrumentation that's more modular, that makes it easier to drop in to more distributed manufacturing facilities, or technologies that reduce the amount of product that you actually have to produce, makes it so that you can really bring it to some of these other geographies. So absolutely, I think all of these things go hand in hand, and the improvements that we're just discussing are things that are going to be globally distributable.
Interesting.
No, and I think that so mRNA is a fantastic example of an opportunity to reduce cost of manufacturing. But when I think about the other modalities, it's going to continue to be about innovation. Think about the progress that have been made in the monoclonal antibody space in the past 20 years. There's no reason we cannot do that for viral production. There's no reason we cannot do that for cell therapy. And it's automation, it's new biologics, new cell lines, and we know what needs to be done, right? And so I think there's the industry has shown that through innovation we can bring the manufacturing cost down significantly. And to your point about globalization, that's what Cytiva does every day, right? With our Flex Factory solutions and enabling countries and making it easier to deploy capacity, right? It's about cost locally, but it's about how do you make it easy to deploy, right? So, so we're on it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you, audience, for your questions. We're going to wrap up, but first, join me in watching their faces drop as I ask non-scientific questions about Emmanuel and Nathaniel. This is not rehearsed, and this is why they're going to look so frightened. So, Nathaniel, we're here in San Diego. You live in the north of California?
I live in San Diego.
You live in San Diego. What is your favorite city on the earth? You do not have to say San Diego, even though we're here.
My favorite city on the earth. I'd have to say San Diego.
Let's see, I'm going to prompt you. Our viewers are in Boston, Poland, Sweden.
And I'm so sorry about that. The weather is beautiful down here. I love having the ocean and the mountains and the desert so close. So, I would encourage all of those listeners to consider moving to San Diego. The sunshine tax is absolutely worth it.
Thank you, Nathaniel. You do not get the same question, Emmanuel. Your question is, there you stand with a microphone in your hand. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Ooh, my go-to karaoke song. I'm gonna say YMCA.
All right.
It's a very, it's like every time we put a YMCA,
You
we
can
do,
move to
you can
it.
move to it. It's fun and it's great. My favorite city is Paris, by the way.
Ah,
Welcome
okay.
to Paris Olympics. Okay, I gotta say that. So, this is gonna be a great summer for us. So, thank you.
All right. And with that earworm left with you, YMCA, young man, young women, thank you very much for watching this LinkedIn Live broadcast from Cytiva. Have a great week.